week 1 of the Glucose Goddess method, we have a savory breakfast instead of a sweet breakfast. Most of us have a sweet breakfast every morning. Maybe it's fruit juice, it's breakfast cereal, it's oats with honey and a banana.
Or pancakes with all its syrup.
Of course, or pancakes with syrup. And so when we eat something sweet, we might think that we're getting energy because we feel a little bit awake like this. What's actually happening is that your brain is releasing dopamine. It's the pleasure molecule in response to that sugar. And that tricks you into thinking you have energy. You don't have any energy. You have pleasure in your brain. On the inside, actually, in your mitochondria, the little organelles that are making energy, that sweet food at breakfast is going to make them tired, stressed out, and not able to make energy as effectively anymore. So we switch from a sweet breakfast that creates a big glucose spike and all those side effects to a savory breakfast built around protein that doesn't give you that much dopamine, but gives you super steady energy. And so for the whole day, you can focus well, you're concentrated, you feel great, your mood is level, and it's just a whole new experience of your days. You're more productive too. So week 1, savory breakfast, it is a game changer. It is a foundational layer of steady glucose levels and a much nicer experience of life.
Absolutely. And so the food that you eat is fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And your brain is only, 2% of your body mass, but it requires 20% of the energy. It's an energy hog.
And your brain is also very sensitive to the fluctuations in blood sugar level, in your bloodstream, your glucose levels. It's a very sensitive organ. And so if you're able to give it a steady supply of glucose instead of that roller coaster, it's going to thank you. It's going to be able to perform so much better for you.
And do you recommend our listeners use like a continuous glucose monitor or one of those things, or do they need that?
I don't. I think if you have one, that's great, and if you're interested, but it is a medical device made for people with diabetes. The data can be a bit difficult to understand. Mm-hmm. I recommend that you do the hacks and you just see how your experience of yourself changes.
How you feel, how you perform.
Exactly. Cravings go away, energy improves, you're less hungry, inflammation goes down, skin problems go away. If you had hormonal issues, they also dissipate, you sleep better. Literally every system in your body gets better when you get off that glucose roller coaster that so many of us are on.
So then as you continue to week 2.
Week two, I introduce a very cool molecule that is inside of vinegar. So week 2, we have 1 tablespoon of vinegar in a big glass of water before one of our meals a day. Why do we do this? Because acetic acid is amazing. Acetic acid, this molecule, slows down how quickly food breaks down to glucose molecules. So you can still eat the meal that you love eating afterwards, but by adding the vinegar drink, you're reducing the glucose spike. So you're reducing the impact of that meal on your health. It's quite magical, but actually it's science. There's a lot of wonderful clinical trials showing its efficacy. So that's week 2. So week 1, savory breakfast. Week 2, vinegar.
Yeah. I mean, I know our audience is remembering this because they're trained with their memory. There's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's a trained memory and an untrained memory. So they know, especially the way you're presenting it. And you're very passionate about vinegar, by the way. Can it be apple cider vinegar?
It can be any type of vinegar. And if you're not a vinegar person, you can also replace it with lemon juice. So lemon juice is less powerful. You need the juice of about 3 lemons to get the power of 1 tablespoon of vinegar. But it's also helpful if somehow you have an aversion to vinegar.
And it blunts the spike. So it doesn't, like, I love on your social media, how you have the graphs, and maybe we could show that in post, where sometimes you see it spike really high if you eat something that's sweet.
Yes.
But if you add something in advance, and
so
I'm not going to give away.
For example, for the vinegar, let's say you're having a big bowl of pasta. That would be a big glucose spike. If you have a vinegar drink before the bowl of pasta, you would see a smaller glucose spike. Yet you're still eating the same pasta afterwards.
And if they choose to, they're not denying the foods that they want. You're saying how you could do it in a more sustainable way without all the symptoms.
Exactly. And especially what you want to avoid is once you kick off that glucose spike and the roller coaster, you're going to have a full day of cravings and more hunger. So you want to be able to eat what you love, the pasta and the chocolate that you love, without kicking off that really annoying and unfortunate vicious cycle of cravings. You know, we've all been there. You have one cookie and then an hour later, you're like, oh my God, I need ice cream now. That's the glucose roller coaster bringing you all these cravings for the rest of the day. So you want to eat the pasta with less of a spike, so less consequences.
Okay. And as we go into week 3?
So week 3. Week 3 is the week of veggie starters.
Veggie starters.
Yes. So once a day, before one of our meals, we're going to have a plate of vegetables at the beginning of the meal. So why do we do this? Because vegetables contain an amazing substance called fiber. When we eat fiber at the beginning of a meal, her amazingness powers, she has time to deploy herself onto the walls of your upper intestine and create a protective fibrous mesh. This protective mesh is going to slow down and reduce how many glucose molecules are going to be absorbed from your food into your bloodstream. So again, you're eating the same meal, but by adding the veggie starter, you're reducing the glucose spike of that meal. So you're helping your brain health, you're helping your physical health. It's super powerful.
So it's not just what you eat, it's how you eat it and also when.
Absolutely.
In terms of the syntax, the order.
Exactly, because for the veggies, of course, it's great to eat veggies anytime.
Right.
Like have veggies anytime. But if you want them to be extra powerful, have them at the beginning of your meal.
So when they serve bread, and you're at a restaurant and that's the first thing people eat, that's probably
I think
not
that's a whole conspiracy because, hear me out. Okay, if you eat bread first thing during a meal, that's starch. So that's going to break down into glucose molecules. You're going to get a big spike at the beginning of a meal. Then about an hour, 90 minutes later, you're going to get that drop. That's usually around the time when the waiter comes over and asks if you want dessert.
Right.
Right? And that drop can make you hungry and crave sweet foods. So you might be more likely to want a dessert if you've started with that bread and you've had a big glucose spike.
I always notice with the bread, they put it on the table and it's warm and there's butter and there's everything. I ask them for no bread when they ask, would you like bread? Or if they bring the bread automatically, ask them no. Otherwise, I find myself throughout the entire meal,
It's so
like
hard.
10 times, 20 times saying, should I eat it? Should I not eat it?
And then you know that when you start, you can't stop.
Right.
I totally feel you. So what I do is I keep the bread for after the main dish.
Okay.
Because if you have your carbs closer to the end of the meal, the rest of the food already in your digestive system is going to slow down the absorption of glucose. So ideally, you start with veggies and any starches or sugars are at the end of the meal.
Okay.
And in week 3, you can also do something very clever. You can mix the vinegar hack and the veggie starter hack by adding a vinegar dressing to your veggie starter. That's 2 hacks in one, and you are completely protected for the rest of the day.
That's like the biggest takeaway ever. I hope you're enjoying this episode. And if you want to go deeper with many of these authors that we have on our podcast, these experts, I want to invite you to join our Quick Success program. This is our monthly lives that I do, where I teach something brand new that we haven't taught before, answer your burning questions. And also we have something that people have been requesting for many years, a quick book club. This is your limitless book club where every single month we read a book together, like a book provided by this author. And then we get the author to come online and join us for a 1 hour, share going deeper in these strategies, how to put them into practice. I share my 5 tips for how to memorize things out of these books. Many people want to read a book a month or build up to that, and this would be the program. So if you want to join, just go to quicksuccess.com and get your spot and join us live and get to meet these authors very up close and personal. And now back to the episode.
So week 4, we're going to recruit our muscles.
Okay.
Powerful allies for steady glucose levels.
Nice.
So you know how I said that our toe cells use glucose?
Yeah.
All of our muscle cells also use glucose for energy, and we can use that to our advantage. So here's the hack. After 1 meal a day, we're going to move for 10 minutes. This can be walking around your block. This could be cleaning your home. It can be dancing in your living room. It can be doing some calf raises on the floor at your desk. By contracting your muscles for 10 minutes, they're going to soak up some of the glucose of the meal you just had.
Wow.
Therefore, reduce the spike. So this is all about, Jim, how do we eat what we love and also help our brain function better, help inflammation go down, help slow down aging, help our glucose levels be more balanced. And then it becomes a virtuous cycle. Because once you've added these 4 hacks during these 4 weeks, you feel like a new person. So you want to do more and more stuff. It's like the perfect on-ramp to better health.
I love that. And does this work for we have people listening to this, and whether that they're vegan or keto or paleo or what have
Absolutely. Whatever your diet, whatever your preferences, these hacks will work for you. Even for kids, it's really important to teach kids to have savory breakfast and to try to avoid the breakfast cereals and the fruit juices. Vinegar for kids, don't force them. It might be a bit of a weird one, but all the other ones are going to be really applicable. And it's cool to teach younger ones about having the veggies first and how the fiber is protecting them. I like seeing fiber as a superwoman.
Okay.
I know you love superheroes. So
Yeah.
to me, fiber is my superwoman.
I love that. So the sequence then ideally is vegetables. Then you have
Vegetables
your
first.
proteins and fats.
Exactly. And then towards the end of the meal, you have the carbs and the sugars that you want. So for example, if your meal is broccoli, salmon, avocado, rice, and a cake, the perfect order for your glucose levels is going to be broccoli first, then the salmon and the avocado, then the rice and the cake. And if you do that, instead of eating them in the opposite order, you reduce the glucose spike by 75% of that meal without changing what or how much you're eating.
Things I like about your work, it parallels ours in that you do all the research, like we do a lot of research in adult learning theory and neuroscience, but we also want to make it fun and practical. And I love the basis of your work and your books. You must be very passionate about behavioral change.
I am. That's really my biggest passion because, I didn't invent this science. I am just translating and making accessible the work of wonderful scientists across the world that have run all these clinical trials and figured all these hacks out. I'm just here to make it easy to get, to understand, and to act on. The acting on part is really what I find the most interesting. Because we all know we should eat better, exercise more, but actually starting somewhere, that's the hardest part. And with these hacks, you can start without restrictions, without making something too complicated, without, creating a complex diet and then not doing it again after 1 week. These are like gentle giants that you keep with you for your whole life, a bit like brush your teeth or drink water, wear sunscreen. That is the level at which I think we need to be operating with these principles. And you'll also find that even though modern science is bringing these to light, we've been doing a lot of this stuff for a very long time in a lot of cultural traditions. So for example, the veggies first. In Italy, they have antipasti. In France, we have crudité. All of these things, we've actually known them for a long time. And now we have to bring them back with this modern science that explains them.
Yeah. We always tell our audience that genius leaves clues, that if you look at, even when we do our memory training, you look at ancient civilizations, how did they remember things before there were computers and printing presses and everything? But there's a lot of ancient wisdom for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. And behind every principle that you're talking about, there's a promise of energy, of a greater mood. It's a sustained vitality, not the big crashes or food comas that often people...
And a healthier brain and the ability to go after the things that you want to go after and not feel crippled by fatigue or cravings or mood swings. Food is very important. It is not just our fuel. It is determinant of how we're going to feel throughout the day. And if we want to feel our best, we have to make sure our food is serving us.
I love that.